Learn how to write the word Sunday in calligraphy, starting with brush pen calligraphy. And each time the color changes in this word is when I'm going to pick up my pen and create a new stroke. So we're going to start with the S. And you could actually stop the S at this point if you'd like, or you could keep it going and curl this part down. Anywhere that you have a downstroke, you're going to use more pressure on your pen so that it creates a thicker line. And anywhere that you have an upstroke or horizontal stroke, you use less pressure. And that creates this beautiful contrast between thick and thin strokes that creates the look of calligraphy. Next, I will show you how to make this look of calligraphy without using a calligraphy pen. We're just going to use a regular pen for this. So you can use your pen to write out the whole word in this script style, or you could use, if you want to use your own style, any style will work for this. I'll show you at the end how we're going to add the thick and thin strokes. Okay, so this is called monoline lettering. Monoline meaning the line has a mono weight or a single weight. Now we're going to thicken certain parts of the letters. So anywhere that you have a downstroke, so anywhere that the stroke is coming in a downward direction, we can add a second line to make it look a little bit thicker. There are a couple exceptions, like you'll notice on this part of the S right here, can be slightly thicker, like a secondary shade, but sometimes on those like little embellishments, you can just leave them alone and not add a downstroke. But all of the core parts of the letters, we're going to add a second line on the downstroke to thicken it. And this will create the look of calligraphy. And this is called faux calligraphy. So then once you get to the end, you can either leave it alone or you can go back in and color in all of those gaps to make it look like the one above it. All right, and then as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to do capital letters using a brush pen. So it'll be the same idea of thick downstrokes, thin upstrokes, and I tend to make capital letters shorter. So like instead of making them as tall as this S, I'm going to make them as tall as these letters here. And you're just going to press harder on the pen on your downstroke and lighter on the upstroke. So for the N, we're actually going to start at the baseline and come up. Then this part is thick because it's coming down and then up. Sometimes it can get confusing of how to do some of these letters, but same thing with the A. We're going to start at the bottom and come up, heavy down, and then your horizontal stroke will be thin. And that is how you can write Sunday using a brush pen in calligraphy, capital letters, and then faux calligraphy. Now let's do bounce lettering. I'm going to use my iPad, but you can use any calligraphy tool for this. Bounce lettering is the style. So in normal calligraphy, let's say for the letter U, you would have two underturns that are the same as each other. But in bounce lettering, I'm going to take the second one and make it come down lower. So I'm exaggerating these curves. So like for this N, instead of making that compound curve look like this, I'm actually going to exaggerate it up and down a little bit. And this adds some character and makes it feel a little more playful and bouncy. I love to use the iPad for this because you can experiment with different things and then just undo if you don't like the stroke that you made. I like to use a baseline for this. You can see I have a very faintly drawn baseline and my X height line here, just to keep things kind of even and straight. Even though the style itself looks more free-flowing, it helps to have that baseline to anchor the letters. So this is one way you could write Sunday in bounce lettering. We're going to write Sunday in Copperplate Calligraphy with a pointed pen. I want to show you the basic Copperplate capital S, the majuscule S. This is the basic letter form in Copperplate style of calligraphy. I personally don't actually love this style, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to show you how to make it look, in my opinion, a little bit more like an S. So this is the basic form. And instead of finishing here with the terminal dot, what I'm going to do is instead finish with an oval right here. I think it just looks more like an S like this. So we're going to start with a horizontal oval, come up, and then I'm going to go into a capital stem. But instead of stopping here, I'm continuing around and making an oval shape with just a little bit of a shade right there. Now I'm going to continue with the minuscule letters, just in their very basic form. Again, the pen that I'm using here is called a pointed pen, and this top part that has ink on it is called the nib. I have a separate container off to the side with ink in it, and every so often I will go over to the side to dip my pen in the ink. And that's how you write Sunday in pointed pen in the copperplate style. I'm going to show you how to flourish the days of the week using the brush pen. And first, what I've done off on a different piece of paper was loosely plan out what I am going to do. So I first wrote each day of the week in a basic style, and then I planned out where I was going to add some flourishes. So for this, I'm going to use a Writech Sign brush pen and show you how to flourish Sunday in calligraphy. And flourishes are just extensions of the letters that we can exaggerate, and we can add loops and curves to in order to make our letters look more fancy. So they're still based on the same basic letter forms, but we're just adding onto them. So for example, in this N, instead of coming back up and connecting to the next letter, I'm going to go below the baseline and add a flourish down here. I'm trying to keep my flourishes nice and smooth, and because I've already kind of planned it out off to the side, I know where I'm going to add them. So great places to add your flourishes are on ascenders and descenders. So an ascender would be like this D right here because it's already coming up above the word. So I'm just going to extend it into a flourish and try to make this connection a little bit more seamless here. So with flourishing, you don't have to do it in any certain order. Like I could have started here, made the flourish, and then gone directly into the D. I just find it easier to first place the stem of the D and then go back in and add the flourish, but you can do it either way. So now for the loop of the Y, I see that I have a flourish here from the N. I'm going to purposely cross through with the Y loop just to create an intentional intersection so that it crosses through this loop right here. Instead of kind of running into the flourish, I'm going to purposely cross through it, which just meant making the loop of the Y a little bit bigger than normal. And that's how you write Sunday with flourishes using a brush pen. The brush that I'm going to be using, a Procreate brush, is called Loveleigh Spencerian, and this is one that I specifically designed to be used for this script on the iPad. I'm using an Apple Pencil, which is pressure sensitive, and when I press down, I'll be able to create the shaded look of Spencerian. So you can see in the shade right here on the S, I just press down to swell and make that a shade. But in Spencerian, a lot of the letters are actually mostly thin and not shaded. There are just some areas that have shades, like that part of the N right there, and usually they're pretty dainty. And for the D, the shade is at the top of the stem right here. It's almost like a triangle shape. And for the Y, I'm going to shade this part right here. Trying to keep it dainty. I'm going to undo that and do that one more time. Try that one more time and try to get it a little bit less blob looking. to make it look a little bit more smooth, and then finish with the descending loop. And that's Sunday in Spencerian. Thanks for watching our series on how to write the days of the week in calligraphy. Let us know in the comments which style is your favorite, and check out the blog post at lovelyloops.com to see pictures of all of these styles, as well as more helpful tips and free resources. Thanks again, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.